What's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to a Tuesday edition of Morning Scone presented by Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, and of course, Hudco Roofing, hudcoroofing.com. Appreciate y'all for being there. I hope you're having a great start to your day. Apologize a little bit late getting started today, but I got some time. So, questions, comments, concerns, as my old football coach Dale Weiner would say whenever he would give us instruction, we go, questions, comments, concerns, life-threatening illnesses. Any of that, y'all know the drill, fire away. We'll say some good mornings here, as you see there in the description. Second day of the MLB Draft, rounds 2 through 10. And that's really where you find out what's going to go down for your roster. Just as a point of reference, every 2 years ago, so last year they only had a 5-round draft because of COVID. 2 years ago, every player drafted in the first 10 rounds signed except 2. So in 10 rounds, all but 2 players signed 2 years ago. And it's basically because guys are drafted and they have agreed upon terms whenever they're picked. So otherwise the team would just go on to the next guy. So they'll call you, say, hey, we're about to draft you. Will you take X money? And if they say yes, you make the pick. Sometimes you get lucky, and if you're the college, right? And the guy, your signee, wants a higher number than any team's willing to pay him. So they say, don't take me. I'm going to school. So, that happened. That happened yesterday with LSU with one player. It was Cale Lansville. He's a righty out of Colorado, and he was around a top 150 guy. I think maybe MLB. Their prospect list at MLB.com had him maybe like 164 or something. I mean, he's in that range. He's in the top 150 range. So he would have been around 5 or 6 guy, and clearly had a dollar amount he wanted, didn't get it, and so he said, "Don't pick me." He and I did message yesterday because I invited him to come on the show, and he said, "Let me wait till I'm in Baton Rouge," and he said he's flying in today. So he was in Colorado. Cale Lansville is flying to Baton Rouge today to begin his LSU career. So that's great news. The other part of it is you lost 4 guys yesterday, the top 4 guys in your class, and that sucks. I mean, the worst case scenario unfolded. You lost all of your top guys. So LSU and Florida were the 2 schools that each had 4 signees drafted yesterday, and that led the country. So that stinks. All right, let's say some good mornings here, see what y'all got. Happy to go through any of that. If y'all have questions or comments, let me know. The other bit of good news, though, I'm not sure if you saw it, but if you're a Morning Scone fan, you've known this for a couple weeks now. But Mikhail Hilliard and Devin Fontenot did formally announce that they're returning next year for a 5th season. So, again, if you listen to Morning Scone, you've known that for more than a week now. But anyway, they formally announced it yesterday, which is great news, obviously. All right, Jerry DeLucky, Stephen Miller, Truax, what's up, man? Charlie Cavell, hey, Dad, Jeff McKithen, good morning. Andrew Brister, who was selected in the MLB Draft that wasn't already projected to be taken? Nobody. I mean, the hope is, Andrew, that just what I kind of spelled out there, that the hope is that here's Dylan Cruz as the example, right? So Dylan Cruz had a dollar amount in his mind. Let's say Dylan Cruz wanted $3 million. So he would have had to have been like a top half of round 1 guy. And let's say nobody would give him that, but he would have gone, say like where Jaden Hill went, around pick 44, which slot there is like 1.6. Okay, well, so the team says, hey, we'll take you here, we'll give you 1.6, maybe we'll even bump you to 2. Will you take 2? And if his number's 3, he's like, I'm not taking 2, I want 3, or I want 4, whatever it is. So he says, don't draft me. So they don't. So he goes to school. It's really how hard and fast can guys be, or will guys be on their number? And will teams give it to them? So the 4 guys that were drafted yesterday, we all knew that there was a good possibility they were going to be drafted, but there's always also the possibility that they slide or there's not a team willing to give them their number. Let's see. Stephen Miller bringing the Hudco hat to the Alamo next week. I'll shoot you a pic. Please do. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. By the way, if you're going to San Antonio, I'm not sure if you've been before, but I love San Antonio. One of Erica's best friends lives there, so we've been to visit several times. There is a place on the Riverwalk called Boudreaux's. There's no X. It's like Boudreau, apostrophe is Boudreaux's. And it is maybe the best prime rib I've ever had in my life. And they do guacamole at your table. They'll bring the avocado, they'll scoop it out of the and make the guacamole at your table. Phenomenal place. Could not recommend it highly enough if you're looking for a good place to eat. Boudreaux's on the Riverwalk. Jerry DeLucky. Great that Fontenot and Hillier coming back. What about Labus? Chris Keller, Shelley Melanson. Good morning from the Chicago airport. Morning, Shelley. Gregory Brooks. Good morning from Kentwood. Let's see. Stephen Miller. How many actual spots on the roster are available? Seems like LSU loaded up on players recently. Only a few transferred. So you also have to see what's going to happen today, because I think what you're going to see is there's going to be some players picked today that are going to be encouraged to sign. And then the other thing, and I know you asked a specific question, Stephen, and I don't know. I think I did this number on Friday, and I think it was, when you counted the signees, it was in the neighborhood of like 47. And if you lose 4 signees, you still got work to do. But it's also pretty obvious to see who the guys are on the roster that aren't going to be back. You know what I mean? Like if you end up needing to clear roster space, you know the guys who aren't going to be back. Bill Schmidt. So like it could happen. I mean, Steven, remember? I know you remember this, but Chris Reed. Remember, like Chris Reed was cut during fall, and they took a transfer. I think they took the kid, I don't remember his name. I think he was from Tulane. They took a transfer from Tulane, and the kid couldn't hit a lick. And so he left without ever playing a game. And so Maneri called Reed, and that's when he invited him to come back. So sometimes that happens after fall. It's why I asked Jay Johnson when I interviewed him last week, like, do you want your roster decisions made now to have your roster together for fall, or do you want to go through fall and make that determination on your roster? And he was a little nondescript with his answer. Bill Schmidt, John Bro, good morning. Let's see. Stingley and Deculus going to be, I knew about Deculus, I figured Stingley as well. I thought they brought 3. They're only bringing 2. Let's see. Joey Vincent, Tim Gotro, Trivia Carter, Bubba Tatum, good morning. Thomas Lamont, good morning. Super glad Fontenot's coming back. As far as him being a starter, I feel most LSU fans would be skeptical coming off the Hess experiment. Yeah, I get that. But the thing you got to remember, Thomas, is all of these guys were starters before they got to LSU. If you're throwing mid-90s, with real good sink on your fastball, like if you're Devin Fontenot, you're not a closer in high school. You're a starting pitcher. You're given the ball and say, go wreck the other team of high school hitters, right? So the real only question is, I think, can he change his conditioning to go from being a guy that's max effort for 2 innings to can you pitch for 2 hours, right? When you think about up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, going 5, 6, 7, 8, you change that. Now, I'll point out to you also, Thomas, the best outing, in my opinion, of Devin Fontenot's career was the Super Regional against Florida State in 2019. And he went 6 innings in relief. So there's no doubt he can extend and get guys out multiple times through the order. We've seen him do it. I think he's got to condition himself to do it for the full season. And I also believe it's a big reason why he's coming back, man, to have the opportunity to start. Cliff Nelson, Michael Melanson, Shane Duncan, good morning. Kale Lansville decided to go to college. Correct. LP asked about Gavin Dugas coming back. Dugas was a guy that likely was, if he had gone yesterday, and there was some talk yesterday that because I'm not sure if you noticed this, but you probably didn't, there was a glut of really good college hitters that decided to stay in school. And so teams, major league teams that were looking to draft college hitters, especially with power, that pool got pretty shallow. And so Dugas was a guy yesterday that they were thinking, man, he could maybe sneak up into the, round 5-6 range. And it didn't happen. So that's great news for LSU. So, I mean, you go through today and you hold your breath a little bit, but, I think you'll hear Gio's name called today, and I think he'll sign no matter where he's picked. Dugas is the guy I think that, you're going to get back. Bianco was on Twitter yesterday. He's coming back. It'll be interesting to see if he has a role. And he's a little engine that could, man. He's a guy keeps getting kicked to the curb, but keeps somehow finding a way to make an impact. But boy, that's going to be tough next year. Because I believe Doty's going to play second if Barry plays third. And I don't think Drew Bianco is going to be your starting center fielder next year. But we'll see, man. We'll see. Let's see. Alex Day, hey, Matt, my prediction on starting rotation for baseball: Fontenot, Coleman, Hilliard with Fowler in the midweek. That's a good guess. Don't count out Ty Floyd, who's got great stuff also. But I think they're going to give Hilliard a chance to be at the front of the rotation. Because of the three you mentioned, I don't think none has proven that they can be a dominant Friday night guy. And so if you don't have Jaden Hill, or use a better example, if you don't have Alex Lang or Aaron Nola, if you don't have the guy you put him at the front of your rotation, then it's almost like, why burn a guy that could give you an advantage Saturday or Sunday to throw him on Friday against Jack Leiter, right? So they may give the ball to a senior in Hilliard on Friday and say, get us off to a good start. We got the bullpen arms behind you. Just get us through 5. Get us off to a good start. And then you'd go into the rest of the weekend that Fontenot's your Saturday guy, and maybe a guy like Javen Coleman's your Sunday guy. And then you'd have a huge advantage with Coleman, if he progresses year 1 to year 2 on Sunday. And then that might actually change, obviously. Let's see. Tim Gotro, are there any players still in the transfer portal with a chance of showing up here? I don't know what you mean. Like guys from LSU that might come back, or guys that are transfer from another school that LSU may sign. Because if that's the case, then yes. I mean, I told y'all they have a silent commit right now from one left-handed pitcher already. Let's see. Gulf South jumping in here late. How many of the LSU players commits that were drafted will get the money and sign? All of them. So again, I'll repeat that for those maybe that just joined us. The way that the draft is structured is every team has a draft pool of money. It's a dollar amount that they can spend in the top 10 rounds. And every pick has an associated slot value. So, for example, the Pirates had the most amount of money to spend. They had $14 million and change in their draft pool to spend on their top 10 picks. If you draft a guy and he doesn't sign, you don't get to allocate that money elsewhere. If he doesn't sign, you lose that money out of your draft pool. So in the top 10 rounds, guys that are picked already have a deal in place. It's if you're taken in the top 10 rounds, the team has been on the phone with you to say, we're going to take you here. Would you accept this amount of slot money? And the answer is yes or no. And if it's yes, they pick you. And if it's no, they move on. So everybody that had their name called yesterday is going to sign. Ben Kundra, the two catchers, Jensen and Moeller, and Brock Selvage, the lefty. Those four are gone. And that stinks. But that also goes to show you why they went and got Tyler McManus from South Alabama, or from Samford rather, this grad transfer catcher. I think Jay Johnson knew pretty well that the two catchers he had committed or had signed weren't going to show up. So he needed a reinforcement, because after Milazzo, your only option, you got Travinsky, who's coming off of Tommy John, so you really don't know if he's going to be ready. And then you've got Jake Wyeth, who I don't even know if Jake Wyeth's going to be on the team. So, anyway, so he needed to go get a catcher, and that's why he did. He knew it. So, similarly, I think he knew he was going to lose Ben Kundra and he was going to lose Selvage, which is why he went out and they signed Raiselman, right? The kid who's throwing 97 up in the Cape right now. By the way, whoever it was, I think it might have been, no, it was somebody on this stream. Was talking about Raiselman and his numbers not being good last year. And I told you he was coming back from Tommy John, and to watch what he's doing in the Cape, because he was tearing it up. And on Sunday, he threw 5 innings of no-hit baseball with 9 strikeouts. How you doing? So, and then I told you they also have a lefty who's a silent commit right now. We'll see if they announce it. But that would theoretically replace Brock Selvage. I see Barry playing third. I thought he was a DH. He did both at Arizona. He DH'd and played third. I don't know that if you're Barry, you come to LSU just to DH, because you got to remember this. It's similar with Fontenot. Teams aren't going to draft typically relievers high. Starters are going to get preference and get more slot value, etc. Same with position players. Blake Dean's a great example. Blake Dean was a great hitter at LSU, but one of the greatest hitters at LSU. He was an All-American. But Blake had to prove he could play a position. So when he came back for his senior year, it was with the understanding that he was going to get a chance to start in the outfield, and Blake Dean played right field his last year at LSU because he had to show scouts he could play in the outfield because that's where he was going to play. So similarly, I think with Barry, I don't think he's just, I'm not saying there won't be games where he DHs, but he's got to have the opportunity to play in the field if he really wants to be a high draft pick. So they're going to give him a chance to play third base, and they're going to move Doty over to second. What kind of role do you see Beloso playing next season? Thomas, that's going to be an interesting one, man. That's going to be a really interesting one because, if Cade did not have a great season this past year, I think we know, but in the Cape right now, he is annihilating the baseball. And if he can carry that into next year, then that's a potential first base DH guy from the left side. And maybe you platoon at DH, lefty, righty, whatever. I don't know. That's a Jay Johnson question. But that would potentially be his role, is a first base DH platoon type situation. Jump back here to Facebook. By the way, please, if you're on Facebook, like the page, share the post. If you're on YouTube, smash the like. Smash the like buttons. Hit that like. 37 watching, only 20 likes. Let's get the likes up, man. Appreciate y'all very much for being here with us every day, as always, and supporting Brock and HUDCO. Of course, you need an orthopedist. You go to Brock. All the subspecialties. You need a roof. Love that's the one ask I have for HUDCO is just let us come do a roof inspection. Like typically you can look up at your roof and look around and you'll go, oh, that's a really nice roof. Oh, that's a new roof. Oh, mine is a roof, right? Or if you know you've had hail in your area, just let us come for a free inspection. It's totally free. I mean, we'll send someone to get up on your roof and do a full inspection report and let you know. And if you have damage and we recommend making a claim, we'll hold your hand and walk you through that whole thing. If not, cool. We'll just be on our way. But that's what we would absolutely ask. HUDCOroofing.com, HUDCOroofing.com. Let's see, where are we? Charlie Cavell, kid from Houghton, did the same thing, now going to Arkansas. Yeah, I saw that. Peyton Stovall is his name, and that one stings, man. Y'all remember this. I had a scout tell me, I think I shared this with y'all, but I had a scout tell me that Peyton Stovall is the best pure hitter that he has scouted in Louisiana since Todd Walker. And Peyton Stovall was a top 50 prospect who passed on the money yesterday, decided to go to Arkansas. And that sucks. Kid from Louisiana who passed on the draft and is going to Arkansas. That sucks. That's one of those, how the hell did that happen situations. Steven, none of those guys drafted yesterday were expected to ever make it to campus. That's how Paul recruited. So keep in mind, Steven, it was Nolan did the recruiting, not Paul. And that's not fair. I'm going to push back on that because you have to take those guys. Like, you go to the showcase events and everybody is in on the best prospects, but you have to hedge. Like, you have to understand, like, you don't, I mean, are you going to not recruit Dylan Cruz because, oh, he's probably going to sign? Look at Peyton Stovall. Do you not recruit Peyton Stovall because, oh, he's not going to sign? What happens when they do show up on campus, right? So, I mean, you get those guys. You get Kevin Gaussman on campus from time to time. You get Alex Bregman. You get, I mean, and these are game changers in your program. It's why you have to recruit them. You have to sign them. But you also have to manage your roster to hedge against that, to know, all right, if this guy does sign, what's my reinforcement? You know, and I think that's what Jay Johnson has really done with the transfer portal here to start start his tenure. Hang on one second, I'll move backpack speed. As always, I'll shout out to Brock, Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, HUDCO Roofing. And the other thing, too, and sometimes you do get those guys to show up on campus and it never materializes. Jake Latz. I mean, Jake Latz was supposed to be this lefty, dominant starter who actually showed up on campus and was just always injured and never materialized for him, you know? So I disagree with that, man. Like, you've got to recruit those guys. I mean, you've got to recruit them. You just have to make sure that you hedge in case if they don't show up on campus that your roster doesn't have a hole in it. Robert Segrest, good morning. Brian Jones, morning, Matt. Does Stingley see the field on offense? We've heard it since he got on campus. See the interview with his dad last week. What's your thoughts? So, Brian, listen, I specifically talked about that with Derek Sr. when Derek signed. And his whole thing was, if you want him to play offense, meaning this is the conversation you have with Ogeron, wait until his junior year. Like, let him master cornerback at this level first before you try him on offense. For me, so anyone who thought they were going to see him on offense the first 2 years, you just weren't paying attention. For me, I have no desire to see Derek Stingley on offense. I don't want to see him on offense, and I don't want to see him returning punts because he is too valuable as the best cornerback in college football to, one, take away any of his attention in game plan or film study or reps at practice or anything, running routes instead of covering receivers. That's number one. And he is way too valuable to expose to a hit from a head-hunting safety when he's coming across the middle or someone who goes low on him. It just, there's way too much risk. For what? Like, when you're LSU and you recruit the way LSU has, and I look out there and I go, you got Coy Moore, and you got Kayshon Boutte, and you got Jeray Jenkins back for his senior season, and then you got dudes who haven't even made an impact yet because they're just salivating, waiting for a turn, and you're talking about guys like Alex Adams or whatever it may be. Like, I don't need Derek Stingley out there. I don't need Derek Stingley out there taking hits unnecessarily. I don't need him taking reps away from guys that are aching to get out there. So you got Jack Bech. Here's receivers: Jack Bech, Kayshon Boutte, Coy Moore, Deion Smith, Jeray Jenkins, Alex Adams, John Trey Kirkland, Devontae Lee, Ethan Lang, Trey Palmer. Well, one of those is a walk-on. 10. Now you got Chris Hilton, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas. Like, bro, I got so many receivers. I'm struggling to spread the ball to get them all involved. Now I'm gonna take Derek Stingley and put him on offense. I just have no desire to see it, man. And returning punts, hell no. Like, I want Derek Stingley's ACLs protected and intact and not trying to juke guys on a punt return. He's just way too valuable. And you got guys that can do that. Let Trey Palmer go return punts. I mean, get that kid on the field. Pat Houston, now I don't know what they're going to do, man. I mean, we'll see. But for me, I don't need to see Stingley on offense. I don't need it. I need him to be the best cornerback in college football, him to be rested on the sideline while the offense is on the field, and him to go be a dominant lockdown cornerback. That's what I need from Derek Stingley. Shell, we've been listening to a lot of MMA media. It's really frustrating to hear everyone give Dustin credit for his performance, not writing him off due to Connor's injury. Yeah, I don't think anybody's writing. Well, I don't know who would write him off, Shelby. But I mean, the point of it too also is that Connor broke his foot or his ankle on when he missed the leg kick early in the fight. I mean, it was just obvious. I mean, Poirier even pointed at it, and then Connor went for the guillotine, and Conor McGregor going for a submission choke and voluntarily moving the fight to the mat is akin to Army football going 4 wide and trying to throw the ball. Like, what are they doing? They're a triple option. Wait, 4 wide? Like, Conor didn't do that. It's because he was hurt. He couldn't stand. We saw it. I mean, when he did stand again, his leg snapped. So I don't know that I put much into that fight at all. I mean, it was whatever, whatever. Ooh, that was an interesting little tidbit. So I just got a text. I always get texts on the show. I just got a text which said Landon Sims, the closer for Mississippi State this year, is going to be a starter next year. How about that? Same thing with Fontenot. Like, it goes to show you, like, so to the person early who asked about, like, the Hess thing, and it's what these guys want to do. Like, because if you want to get paid, you've got to prove you can be a starting pitcher, because teams aren't going to pay a closer or draft a closer as highly as they would a starting pitcher. It doesn't mean that's not what your role is going to be. Like, Hess was drafted by Detroit. They gave him the opportunity, but ultimately moved to the bullpen. That's probably where he's best suited. We'll see if he ever gets back up to the show and makes an impact. But, it makes sense, right? I mean, that's your Mississippi State. You lose Will Bednar. You lose your rotation. You got this dominant pitcher. See if you can be a starter. See if you can get you 5 or 6 instead of the last 6 outs. Time to get more transfers from Arizona. John DeRoche, Suns or Bucks in Game 4. I'm going to take the Suns tonight in Game 4. And I think they close it out at home. Baton Rouge is a small market. What does that mean? I mean, I know that. What does that mean? Sorry, John. I don't know what that's in context to. Dylan Landry, good morning. Jerry, how does the NCAA not see that baseball rosters need to be increased? I mean, Jerry, the tough part is, remember, with Title IX, whatever you spend on men's sports, you have to spend on women's sports. So if you increase scholarships for baseball, which I 100% believe should happen, then you have to increase scholarships somewhere on the women's side as well, or reduce scholarships elsewhere on the men's side. So, like, if baseball went from, say, 11.7 to 20, or full scholarships, 25, full scholarship for everybody, that's 14 scholarships in other men's sports that need to be cut or added on the women's side. And that's a big problem for a lot of universities. I mean, that's the thing I think a lot of people don't realize is, like, when someone's on scholarship, that tuition isn't just waived. That tuition has to be paid. So if you add 14 scholarships times, call it $30,000, right? I think LSU's $28K. That's $420,000. I mean, and that's just the scholarship. That's not even full cost of attendance. So if you add 14 scholarships in baseball, then you have to add another 14 somewhere in women's sports. So that's almost $1 million just in scholarships before you start talking room and board, etc. Like, most athletic departments can't afford that. Too many of us think just in the lens of LSU, in this big athletic department that generates $100 million in revenue annually, but you don't realize that overwhelmingly athletic departments lose money. Like, they're a loss leader. I mean, LSU is one of the handful, the few that actually make money at the end of the year. And the amount is not significant. They basically cover costs and have a little left over. So if you did that, you'd have to cut somewhere else. Like, maybe you cut one of the non-revenue sports. You cut golf or men's swimming and diving or something like that. I mean, that's why there isn't men's soccer, right? That's why LSU doesn't have a wrestling team anymore. That's why LSU doesn't have men's volleyball. Because football takes up 85 scholarships, and you're going to have basketball and baseball, that it's hard to have other men's sports because you're going to make all those up on the women's side. Brian Jones, Trey Morgan make the move to the outfield. It'll be interesting to see if he does this year. I think he'll be first base. But before he leaves, he better go out there and prove he can do it because he's not going to get drafted as a first baseman. Chris Lightsey, based off Beloso possibility of playing some first base, see Morgan moving. I meant that like more as if there was a platoon situation, and you have that opportunity. Charlie, I agree with that. Stovall is the best I've seen in person in a while. LSU losing on Stovall to Arkansas and Jack Walker from Barb to Mississippi State. Both are crushing, for sure. Two best players in the state are going to SEC West schools, not LSU. Charles Rees, don't think we saw this year, but when does NIL come into play with colleges having to leg up on ML teams when it comes to draft? Won't happen. It's just not realistic, Charles. I mean, if a kid is going to get, if a kid out of high school is going to get a 7-figure signing bonus, there's no NIL opportunity to offset that. Even someone like Alex Bregman, think about that. Like, as great a player as Alex Bregman is, and as much as they knew he was going to be great and a day one starter at shortstop, what was his value as a high schooler coming out of New Mexico? What was his Q score? Nobody knew who he was. I mean, people in baseball knew who he was, but there was no company that was going to do a 7-figure endorsement deal with Alex Bregman as an 18-year-old. You know, so it's not realistic. Let's see. Man. Let's see, back to YouTube here. As always, y'all, please, if you're on, 52 watching on YouTube, thank you for that. Did I ever share? Did I ever tweet? I don't know that I ever tweeted the link. Maybe I did earlier. I don't remember. Let me make sure. I'm not sure if I did. Hope I did. Nope, I did not. I'm going to do it right now. Please, if you haven't done so yet on YouTube, smash the like button. Appreciate that. Appreciate y'all hanging out. And if you have not done so yet, also on YouTube, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's a major help. Actually, you know what, y'all? Give me a solid here, everybody. Even on Facebook. I'm going to post in the Facebook comments the YouTube channel. So if you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do that. Even if you're... Oh, that's an Advocate article. Never mind. Share. Copy. I don't know why that was saved. Paste. Boom. Okay. All right. 8:35. Okay, let's do about 5 more minutes. I'll go quick. Let's see. Blake Robinson. Saban didn't try to save 2 up, 42-7 with 5 minutes to go in the game. Okay. I don't know what that's in reference. I mean, okay. Jacob Berry has 4 homers, 11 RBI, and 23 at-bats with Team USA. Can't wait to see this guy in purple and gold. It's so true. He's crushing it. Let's see. It seems we have seen right-handed pitchers be more dominant this year versus their left-handed counterparts. You talking about in college? I mean, typically, Blake, that's because if you're a lefty and you throw mid-90s, you never show up on campus because lefties that throw mid-90s are unicorns. And if Major League Scouts see one, they give them 7 figures and they never show up on campus. It's just guys like Asa Lacy. There's a reason why he's a unicorn in college baseball because they just don't exist. Let's see. Pat Huseman, good morning. Brody Dupree, will they take any more position player transfers like Kessler from Kentucky? Dan Fitzgerald said it last week on AFR, best available. So if there's a guy that they feel like is an immediate impact guy, can help them, they'll take him. They'll find a spot. Let's see. So SEC teams that have gymnastics, fishing teams, esports have more money than SEC schools that don't. Not necessarily, Blake, because like fishing and esports, those may be club sports, and those are self-funded. NCAA sanctioned sports that have a scholarship structure within the NCAA, the school just has to decide if they're going to pay that, right? Like, I don't think fishing or esports are NCAA sanctioned sports. Gymnastics, like men's gymnastics is, and that's why LSU doesn't have men's gymnastics. Where are we? Kevin Boudreaux, really not hard to believe Stovall would go to Arkansas. He's close to Arkansas state line compared to LSU, although Fayetteville is further from Houghton. So it's proximity isn't the thing in that one, Kevin. One of the things that I really sincerely hope changes with Jay Johnson and Dan Fitzgerald, and it's not a knock on, and you'll keep saying Maneri, and I know he's the head coach, but Nolan was a recruiting coordinator. And I want you to understand something like Paul Maneri was not going to recruiting showcases. He wasn't the one doing that. In many instances, Paul didn't meet some of these players until they showed up on campus. And I don't know how common that is elsewhere, but it's something that happens. Anyway, so many times when you start recruiting guys at 14 years old, there are guys who don't really develop until 16 or 17 and become really good. But if you've been attached to the guy that you've been on since he was 14 and travel ball and you're in with the coach, and then sometimes it's hard to say, hey man, I don't have that offer for you anymore. I need this guy. Or if there was another school in on a prospect earlier and really liked him a lot and you got in late, you lose a lot of times. And I think that's what happened with those guys. It's being more mindful of staying on guys, being interested in guys, even if they develop late and not becoming we've all seen it, right? I mean, how many guys do you know that 8th and 9th grade were the best players that by the time you became a senior, just everybody passed them up? It happens. And sometimes that happens. Let's see. Stephen Goday, Jesus Christ, Matt, stop with the LSU got killed on the draft. Everyone who got drafted wasn't expected to come to campus. You keep saying we got killed. Do some research, bud. Stephen, I've done plenty. And the bottom line is LSU and Florida lost more players to the draft yesterday than anybody. And you never know how those are going to go on a draft day. Again, I'll point out Dylan Cruz. I'll point out Alex Bregman. You can point out Kevin Gosman. There are always guys that we just talked about Peyton Stovall, top 50 overall prospect who's going to Arkansas. Passed on the draft, passed on the money. So, I mean, objectively, Steven, you could say what you want. You can be in your feelings, man. But objectively, yesterday was a terrible day. It was. I mean, it was like you didn't get any of your top prospects to show up on campus. That sucks. That doesn't mean you can't be good. It doesn't mean like getting Fontenot and Hilliard back. That's great. It looks like Dugas is going to come back. You've done really well in the transfer portal. It doesn't mean like they're not going to be good. It doesn't mean they don't have talent. It just means they got crushed yesterday. They did. Like, you hope some of those things fall your way in the draft, and they didn't yesterday. So, move on. Neely. Hello, Baton Rouge. What's up, Neely? Let's see. Any more? All right, guys, I think we are just about done. All right, as always, shout out to Brock, Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. If you're on Facebook, both are tagged in the post. If you could like both of those pages, that would be huge. By the way, Terrio and I are starting something that I would love feedback on. It's going to be just a short video. We hope to do it daily, if not daily, somewhat regularly. We'll post it on the Hudco Facebook and Instagram. So if you haven't liked the Facebook page on YouTube or followed us on Instagram, please do. Like yesterday, we kind of gave a preview of day 2 of the draft. So if there's a hot topic or something we want to talk about, you know, we'll do it in the way that he and I have done radio for a long time now. But we're going to post it exclusively there. Of course, the whole idea is just to get people to go to the Hudco page. So if you haven't yet, please go like the Hudco page on Facebook or follow Hudco on Instagram, and the videos will be posted. We'll just do it via Zoom, record it, and then upload it to the page. So, you know, we'd appreciate if y'all give us a follow there. Okay, y'all have an awesome day, and we'll see y'all later. Locked on LSU coming up later this morning, and then AFR 3. Peace. See y'all.